Hi, I'm Alan Ross, Managing Editor of APC Media. We are here at the 2026 IEEE PES T&D Show. I'm here at the IEEE PES T&D Show in Chicago, and my next guest is Casey Ballard. Was one of the very first people that wrote articles for us. So you were a young man then, a young engineer.
I've aged a little bit and gained a little bit of experience since then.
Right. You're with Nomex, and what is your title? We're going to talk about Arclin in a minute, but what is your title with Nomex now?
Global Technology Manager for our Nomex paper. So covering R&D, applications development, and tech service.
Okay, now you know I love Nomex. I mean, we've talked about.
We all do.
Yes, I want everybody to put Nomex in there. We were just talking to a transformer manufacturer about some of the high heat things that they want to do. How do you make it? And they said, oh, we would make that Nomex. That would be one of the things. So,
excellent. And that gives me a big smile.
Yeah, let's talk about the industry, what's happening. We all know it's a hockey stick of some sort. Mm-hmm. How does it appear to you guys?
So it's definitely booming. What we see is with the OEM side constantly adding capacity.
Yeah.
So we've been adding capacity as well, right? We expanded to an additional plant a few years back in expectation that the market would continue to grow.
Okay. Is that growing globally, or is it more in the...
Absolutely growing globally. In different regions, it's for different reasons though.
Okay. One of the main reasons has to do with data centers. Talk a little bit about that, just the market itself and what they need from Nomex.
So the market, right, obviously booming because everything we do has become more digitized.
Right.
Why Nomex? It's reliable, it's known, and it's trustworthy.
Yeah.
So if you're going to put in a very expensive data center, the last thing you want is the power to go out.
Okay.
Because if you're a social media company, for example, and the data center goes down, everybody knows, and they're talking about it.
Right.
And you don't want that type of publicity.
There's a lot of growth with dry type transformers for different applications, especially for data centers, anything indoors. Anywhere you have robotics that are doing something, you have to have a transformer in there, and you're not going to put an oil field transformer inside of a plant. Or talk a little bit about that, the application for dry type transformers.
Sure. So our Nomex products are inherently flame resistant, right? They also show up in a lot of garments and F1 suits, for example. The reason for using dry types indoors is there's no liquids to burn and there's no berms that you have to help control the leaking liquid. It also gives you high overload capability. Okay. So it builds added redundancy into the system without having to add additional transformers.
Yeah.
If you're running a double-ended substation and one end you lose a feed, you have very high overload capability for months and months, so you can get that equipment repaired. And you don't have to take downtime in your facility that the dry type transformers are servicing.
The overload, you call it overload, it's just people running transformers at rates that they were designed to handle for maybe a few hours, not for running for weeks or months on end, right?
But with Nomex, they can run for months or sometimes even years without significant loss of life.
What's the difference between Nomex and not Nomex?
So with Nomex, we have systems recognized by UL up to 240 degrees C.
Okay.
All right. And that's evaluated and with an expected lifetime of about 20 years in use. We have some in the industry, though, that are 30, 40, and even 50 years old. So it's the reliability, right? It's the same Nomex that you can buy today. It's the same performance you could buy years ago. And as we expand from plant to plant, we make sure that we have absolutely the same quality.
There's a growing need for people to keep transfer. There's the new market, right? Everybody's bringing more on, but for those that can't get new products, they didn't get in early and buy slots, right? Utilities did. Utilities were smart enough to say, hey, I want 10 of this class transformer in the next 4 years. A lot of industrials and data centers and new entrants come into the marketplace. Talk a little bit about how you support the maintenance part of power as opposed to the new part of power.
So on the maintenance part, we also have a lot going on with utility partners where they're being asked to provide more power at a specific address,
Right.
but they're landlocked and they don't have space to add to their electrical room. It's fixed. They don't want to knock down walls. And if we look to larger equipment, they don't want to have to knock down a building to
Right.
expand the substation.
Right.
So where we fit in is we can give them a much higher expansion rate of their power and nameplate for MVA without having to grow an actual footprint.
Is Nomex a product that's the technology is growing? Are you working on new things all the time, or what they get today is what you've come to this level?
So we started off with our flagship product, a 410, that's been around for 60 years now.
Really?
But we have a full portfolio that's really focused on the areas that are growing. Like we made specialty papers that were meant for data center. And we've also been spending a lot of effort on liquid filled as well. One area we see a lot of interest in the market and at the R&D level is moving to higher frequencies from the typical power frequencies of 50 or 60 hertz.
Okay.
A whole new realm of challenges, but also a lot of opportunities, right, with different core design and space saving.
Yeah. You mentioned something before we got to you were talking about things are moving to medium voltage.
Medium frequency, yes.
Medium frequency, sorry. Talk a little bit about that.
So we saw this first start to move many decades ago, and it was at research level. The challenge has been commercialization. It's not been proof of concept.
Okay.
It's finding all of the equipment that can work at 20 kilohertz or higher,
Right.
which isn't commercially accessible now, right? It could be 2, 5, 10 times more expensive.
Really?
We do see some parallel technology, though, happening in electrification of vehicles as well, for a lot of the same reasons, being able to move to higher efficiency and keeping a very small footprint and be lightweight.
The application for Nomex is vast. I mean, there's so many things that you can do with it. Looking at dry type transformers, that's one particular niche. Is there a lot of variance within that niche of how the product is able to use, why it's able to do it, and what it means to the end user? So variability.
So it is. One of the things that's unique about Nomex is it doesn't react with many other chemicals.
Right.
Right. So we see it now being used in data centers where they're looking for alternative cooling, and it may be as part of the inline pump system.
Okay.
We see it used in a lot of military applications where reliability is an absolute must.
Yeah.
And now as we see electrification of aircraft, it's moving more and more into that space as well. Again, high frequency, but high altitude,
Yeah.
which now requires even better dielectrics.
It's all changing.
It's all
It's all
changing,
changing.
but a lot of the technology that we have is supporting those changes.
Now, I know that it's been recent that Arclin has come in and purchased Nomex. They're keeping the brand name, I assume.
Absolutely.
Excellent. And what do you think that means for you, for Nomex?
So the exciting side for us in the technology team is it means investment, and investment leads to more innovation.
Right.
So we're very excited from meeting with all of their leaders over the past several weeks. As you mentioned, it's been very recent, of new investment, new equipment, new R&D capabilities, and also looking on how we can expand the Nomex portfolio beyond the existing paper and board that we have today.
Lisa, you're like a kid in a candy store.
I am. It's an exciting time to be here.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us,
Yep.
and we'll talk again soon.
Thank you very much.
My next guest is Evanne Wang. She is a senior engineer or an engineer with Nomex Arclin, or is Arclin Nomex?
Arclin Nomex.
Oh, name first, right. We're going to talk about Arclin in a little bit, but I want to talk about, we were talking with Casey Ballard. He's one of your counterparts, and he was talking about dry type transformers and Nomex, the application. I was introduced to Nomex in liquid filled transformers years ago, when it was still DuPont, right? And we kind of know the value, but talk a little bit about why Nomex, what are the attributes that it brings to a marketplace, the applications that it would work best in, and just rant on about Nomex in liquid filled transformer applications.
Ooh, I have a lot to say about Nomex and liquid fill transformer applications. So, we all know the conventional insulation system, which is cellulose pressed forward with mineral oil, and that conventional insulation system has worked very well for decades, and it will continue to work very well. But that insulation system has some limitations, mostly being the thermal limitations.
Yeah.
And that thermal limitations really reduces things such as design flexibility. Your unit cannot go hotter, your unit cannot go smaller. It's more difficult to make mobile units with that thermal limit. So with Nomex, Nomex unlocks some higher thermal headrooms for your installation system to be able to run hotter. And that allows us to run hotter, it allows us to run longer, it allows us to have better resiliency and longer life for the entire unit. In addition, when Nomex paper is paired with a advanced insulation fluid, such as an Ester-based fluid, that really increases the thermal performance of the insulation system.
Yeah, there's a move now to, because you can't get transformers now, people are saying, well, when I get them, I want the best that I can so I don't have this problem down the road. It's being very short-sighted not to use a Nomex or not to use an FR3 or any kind of Ester. In the long run, Nomex does something that the other papers don't do. What is that?
Nomex doesn't really degrade after exposure to high temperatures over extended periods of time. So you're getting increased reliability. Nomex doesn't off-gas that much inside liquid, so you're also getting a better chemical life for your paper and your fluid.
You know, it's interesting. When people try to make a decision, hey, I need a transformer that I can run hotter, I want something for a specific application. And you mentioned it, coupling Nomex with some form of Ester is probably going to give you the highest level of reliability that you can get. Yeah. But there's a trade-off because there's a certain cost differential to do that. Make a case from a cost differential why it's a better decision to make that now than it is to be sorry later that you didn't do it.
Yeah, of course. So one example I can think of is in mobile transformers. So mobile transformers, you need to be smaller.
Right.
And so with smaller, you can save upfront on materials, you can save upfront on the fluid, you can save upfront on the metal costs, and then you can save on transport. So it's easier to transport things that are lighter. And then throughout the life of that unit, there is less maintenance involved. And you have a longer life. So over the course of that longer life, it's less maintenance costs for you to absorb.
There's whether it's right or not, there's a certain limitation that people have about using esters. You know, you can't go up. There is no limitation for using Nomex in the size of a transformer, correct?
Correct, there is none. We've opened transformers that have been in operation for 50, 60 years, and the Nomex still looks fantastic.
It's excellent. Anything else about Nomex that you would want a customer or you would want the market to know?
Yeah, so Nomex really is your choice of material when you're dealing with high heat, when you have needs for resiliency and reliability. So Nomex is definitely what should be one of your top choices for insulation.
So you've got Arclin on. It's Arclin Nomex. It's been a relatively recent acquisition. Talk a little bit about what that means for you, the excitement that I sense is here from Casey Ballard and just you guys are looking at things differently now. Talk a little bit about what your expectations are of this new Arclin venture.
So as Casey has said, as of last month, Nomex was purchased by Arclin. Nomex and Kevlar was purchased by Arclin. And Arclin is a material science company, and they make a lot of materials for applications that are mission critical.
Right.
And so these are things that are materials that go into saving lives, that go into protecting the infrastructure, things that are enabling humans. And so with Arclin backing Nomex and Kevlar, we now have more innovation. So with that, we now have the ability to innovate more. And so to better serve our customers for today's market as well as the future market. And for us, for those of us in research and technology, we see that as a fantastic sign to be able to do a lot more innovation, do things we haven't done before.
There's a difference between being purchased by somebody that's in material science than somebody that's just putting money into it. So sounds like you've got a great future. Arclin did the right choice, and Nomex now moves on to the next generation.
Oh, absolutely. We are very excited to see what we can do next with these materials.
Excellent. Yvonne, thank you so much. I appreciate it. We'll
Thank
see you
you.
another IEEE.